Amy Rees Anderson is the founder and managing partner of REES Capital, an angel investing firm. Amy is also an author and serves as a contributor to Forbes magazine and the Huffington Post. She currently is on 13 boards, the most important of which is the National Advisory Board at the Woodbury School of Business here at UVU. We're grateful for her chair of that board. Prior to founding REES Capital, Amy was CEO of MediConnect Global, a company she grew and sold in 2012. After selling MediConnect, she founded IPOP Foundation, a charity focused on promoting entrepreneurship as a pathway to self-reliance. Amy has been the recipient of a number of awards, which include being named CEO of the Year and received the prestigious Ernst Young Entrepreneur of the Year award. She has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Inc. magazine, Businessweek, and many other national publications as a result of her many accomplishments. In 2015, Amy received an honorary PhD. She doesn't tell us that she has two children, and more importantly, one wonderful grandchild. And we're grateful to have Amy here. Will you please give Amy Rees Anderson a Wolverine welcome? Thank you. How are you doing? So, when the slides go live, you should see that slides on the
Okay, everybody
left.
say a little prayer. This works.
Hey, you got it.
Yeah.
You're up.
Is it up?
Yeah.
Yay! You guys must be doing something right. Okay. It is so good to be with you guys today, although everything's gone wrong so far this morning, so I figure this is all going to be uphill from here. Before I get started, I know we have a lot of men in the audience, so I want to make sure I tell you about a little thing here. There was a communication experiment that was done years ago where they brought a bunch of men and women into an auditorium and asked them to wait to go into the next room. And they had them wait in the room, and the men and women were together, and then they brought them in the next room, and they gave them a quiz and asked them two questions. What could you tell us about the people around you? And how many exits were in the room, and where were they? Okay, the women in the room could tell you everything about the people around them. The men in the room, but the women had no idea where the exits were. The men in the room knew nothing about the people around them, but they knew exactly how many exits there were in the room and where they were located. Now, what they found from this experiment, and they did several others like it, is that before men can engage in a conversation, and women, this is actually really valuable information for your boyfriends, husbands, whatever, the men in your life. Before a man can engage in any kind of communication, he has to understand three things. One, is it going to be painful? Two, how long is it going to take? And three, when you're done talking with me, what do you want from me? Okay, is there any men in the room that are married? Can I raise their hands? Okay, oh yeah, a lot, yeah, okay. So you understand what I'm saying here. If your wife comes up to you and says, can we talk, what happens? Yeah, every man in the room just goes, oh, ooh. Okay, let me give you an example of a different approach. If your wife comes to you and says, hey, I need you to go to Costco with me on Saturday. We're going to spend 10 minutes there. When we're done, you can come back and play Fortnite as much as you want. Are we there, man? Are we good? Yeah, because you know how long it's going to take and how painful it's going to be. Now, that little trick will help you, not just with the men in your life, but any woman in business as well. Because in business, both men and women are this way. If somebody were to call me at work and leave a message and say, hi, Amy, can you give me a call back? Like, I go into a dark hole of the husband whose wife wants to talk, right? Like, I'm like, what do they want from me? But if someone calls and says, Amy, I'm calling, I have one quick question, it'll take 2 minutes, and when I'm done, that's all I need from you. I'm like, sweet, I'll call you back. Okay? So that's a little trick that if you take nothing else away today, at least you got one good thing from me. Those in the back, come in, and there's tons of seats, so feel free. So today, so that you guys can actually engage in this conversation, I'm going to let you know, this is going to take approximately 40 minutes, Tom, is that right? Okay. It's going to take 40 minutes. I hope it's not going to be painful because I'm just going to try to make it as little boring as possible. And when I'm done, we got some candy for those who have good questions. Okay? So that's all you need from me today. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and my background, just so you kind of know who I am. I grew up in a family of 10 kids, moved all over the country, Oregon, Washington, Michigan, Virginia, Tennessee, Texas, California, and Utah. Came out to school, and my dad is FBI. Came out to school, my plan was to go to BYU, and these are totally out of order, and that is awesome. Okay, so we're just going to keep going. My plan was to come to BYU, get married, and have like 10 kids, and that was the plan. I did come to BYU, I did get married, had 2 little kids immediately, and quickly found myself as a divorced single mom that had dropped out of college and needed a way to support her family. So this was kind of where I was at that point in my life, okay? I tell that backstory, you guys, because I want you to know that where you're starting from today is already like leaps and bounds of where I would have ever imagined starting from. Okay, so you guys, if I can go on to do what I did, where I was able to sell a company for $377 million, I'd say you guys are in pretty good shape, right, coming into this. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that happened and how I kind of got from point A to point B. The biggest thing I learned in the whole process was how to overcome my fear. And I know fear is not like a sexy, cool thing to talk about, but it's something that we all have and we all face, right? And it follows us for our entire lives. It's different things. Sometimes it's fear of heights. Sometimes it's fear of public speaking. It could be fear of anything. One of the hardest things for me was the fear of what other people thought. Because the age you guys are in, that's, it starts in junior high, which is like, let's just admit, the most brutal years of your life. It's like you worry so much about what other people think, right? Whether you're trying to please friends or a parent or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a spouse or whatever it is, we end up getting so focused, or a teacher or whatever, you end up getting so focused on those things that kind of determines your self-worth. And I learned you got to quit worrying about that stuff because you can't control it. Now, I happen to believe in God. Whatever higher power you believe in, that's like pretty much the one thing you can control. So you kind of have to let go of what other people think and start focusing on, I know what that person thinks because they know who I am, and live just according to that for you, okay? The next thing I would tell you is that there's two ways we see ourselves. There's the way you see yourself today. Now, for the men, that's usually you see yourselves a little better than we women do. We tend to walk in front of the mirror and tear ourselves apart, and you guys think you look good no matter how bad you look. That's a difference in our personalities, right? But I learned a little trick. Because I was really, I was young, I was insecure, I was this divorced single mom, I didn't fit the mold, I was living in Utah. It was a really hard time, and I'm LDS, and still living in Utah as a divorced single mom was a little bit awkward for me at that age. And so for me, I was really kind of down on myself, didn't have a whole lot of confidence. And what I learned was, I may not have confidence, but there was like this capacity to change the picture of who I saw when I looked in the mirror to whatever I wanted it to be for a minute. So for me, whenever I had to go do something I was afraid of, I grew up with Wonder Woman, okay? She's like my idol because whose idol is she not? I mean, really, the one's amazing. She can make men tell the truth with a lasso. And she has an invisible jet, so that's like as good as it gets. But I wanted to be Wonder Woman, right? So what I would do when I was scared, I would literally close my eyes. I would be like, okay, you're Wonder Woman for the next hour where you do this meeting that you're terrified of. She's not afraid of anything. When you're done with the meeting, go back to being insecure Amy. That little trick, it's called the fake it till you make it trick. You've guys probably heard about that. That little trick will actually work really well for you. And the more you do something you're afraid of, the less afraid you're going to be, okay? The next thing I kind of had to overcome was the fear of dumb ideas. How many of you guys have ever had an idea and thought, yeah, it can't be that good, right? Yeah, because you're like, if it was really that good, someone who's like clearly smarter than I would have already done it by now, right? Okay, wrong. And the other thing you're going to learn real quick, you guys think because of your age or whatever in life that everyone's smarter than you. It's just not true. One of the big aha moments in life is you're sitting in a room full of people that are supposed to be smarter than you, and you have this realization, dude, I'm actually smarter than they are because I know something they don't know, right? It's not about being better than somebody, but people aren't smarter than you just because they're older or have more education. It's all about our life lessons we've learned and the perspectives we have. So overcoming a fear of a dumb idea, let's talk about that. How many of you guys have heard of the Slanket? There's different brands, right? Dumb idea. It was started by a guy who was in college playing video games and he got cold. So he had his mom take a sleeping bag and cut holes in it for his arms. And then his arms were cold because, he had to play. And so he had her throw sleeves on it. And the next thing you know, you had the Slanket, which crazy amounts of money have sold. Is it a dumb idea? What about goggles? It's goggles for your dog. Right? Dumb idea? Well, they're in every PetSmart across the country. So, I don't know. It sounds like a pretty good idea. What about a pillow pet? How many of you guys have these? Don't even be embarrassed. You're so embarrassed. Raise your hand. I know you all have them. You are a bunch of liars. That's all I'm saying. I got 2 adult kids, and they got their pillow pets that are nasty and gross and haven't been washed like ever. $300 million a year in sales. Is it a dumb idea? Okay, so you kind of have to get over this thing of, my ideas are dumb. Hey, that's the life plan slide that's totally out of place. This is awesome. Okay, here's another one, a company called I Do Now I Don't. It was about a guy that got engaged. She broke it off, gave back the ring. He couldn't get his money back from the jeweler, so he started a company called I Do Now I Don't, where you can resell the things that happened when you got broken up with, and you can even post videos on how she ruined your life. And it's this great company, okay? Taking a bad into a good. A dumb idea? Well, it depends on what you think of dumb ideas. Next was overcoming the fear of what to do. How many of you guys already have a life plan and know what you want to do? Raise your hands. Okay, so a lot of you are still kind of at that stage that I have no idea what I want to do. So let's talk about that a little bit, because when I was at that stage, people were saying to me, well, do something you love. which was like bubble baths and shoe shopping, and I wasn't sure how to make money off of that. The other thing people said is do something you believe in. Now, this ends up being really popular in your generation, right? It's like the whole social impact and social entrepreneurship. I'm a huge believer in that. I will say this. You can do good making money, and it takes making money to give money away to good causes. So do not think of making money as I have to go work for a foundation and that's the only way I can do something I believe in. That's just not true, right? You can go and make a lot of money and be very successful, and that's how almost every good charity foundation in the world got started. So don't think of it, you can't do good just by working for something that's just a nonprofit, okay? And then do something with what you have. You gotta kind of look at what you have today. How many of you guys have a phone? All of you. I know you all have a phone. Don't even ask that question. Okay? You guys have a phone. You have a computer. You've got someone who raised you, and that person that raised you has a whole network of contacts. You have UVU. You're on this campus, right? I even wore my green for you people today because, you know, it is the color of money as well, which coincidence? I think not, right? So you guys are in a good spot here. You have access to all kinds of resources on the campus and professors and ideas and technology. What are you guys passionate about? Right? And people say, oh, you have to go to make money and where your passion is. Well, guess what? My passion was shoes. And I did a healthcare technology company, okay? Because that's what I knew. That's what I had grown up doing jobs in. That's what I had access to, some opportunities. I took them. But was I able to fulfill my passion of shoes by making money in healthcare technology? Yes. Okay? So you can actually fulfill your passion in a whole lot of ways. Don't think you just have to have that be your job. And the other part of that is my real passion, and most of our real passion at the end of the day is taking care of our family. And whatever that is, doing something good that helps people, and you can help people in a lot of ways. We did healthcare technology, doesn't sound like, oh, but it did, it helped people, right? It's about healthcare and helping people be healthy, and there's just a lot of ways to fulfill your passion. So don't limit the scope to, it's like if you love playing video games, that does not mean you need a career in video games. You can make a lot of money and have tons of time to play video games after you make money, okay? Fulfill the passion. The next thing is just to do something. You know, my grandpa used to say, just get up, do something, do anything, just make a start. Some of the best advice I ever got. Because it's really easy to keep talking about it. And it's really easy to keep bouncing the ideas off your friends. But the thing is, God doesn't drive a parked car. You got to start driving somewhere. You got to start moving. And as you do, things are going to change, and that's okay. You're going to pivot 100 times, I promise you. That's okay. That's part of the process. But have that inertia just be going. And ask yourself the question, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? Okay, it's a kind of a powerful question. I was speaking with some students at one college, and they were getting their master's in finance, and I said, or accounting, and I said, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And they said, start a cupcake shop. Were they wrong to be getting a master's in accounting? No, because whatever they learn is going to apply to their business. As an entrepreneur, I had to know accounting and marketing and HR and everything. Like, you have to learn some engineering. I had to learn it all. Okay, everything you learn in this university is going to help you in your career, period. But don't limit, oh, I can only do this because I got this. Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say? Ask yourself, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Now, how many people have ever made a goal poster? Okay? How many people think they're hokey? It's okay, you're not gonna hurt my feelings, be super honest. Okay, good, thank you for your honesty. I love that. I thought they were hokey too. But you know, here I was, divorced single mom, that whole, ooh, Jesus, take the wheel picture. That was me. And I was like, I don't want to do. So I decided to sit down and make a goal poster, because what did I have to lose, right? I mean, my life kind of sucked at that point. So I sat down and I made this poster. And I did. I thought they were hokey. I was like, there's no validity in this stuff. But I'm going to just make it anyway. So I sat down, and these are some of the two things that were on the poster, right? I wanted to be on the cover of a magazine. I wanted to win the Entrepreneur of the Year award, because that was like the biggest award. And back when I did, you didn't even have a degree in entrepreneurship. That's just what you did if you didn't know what you were going to do with your life. Just sounded cool. So for me, that was like, it sounded cool. I wanted to do that, right? Bill Gates, Microsoft was like new with Windows. That's how old I am, kind of ancient. But those were the things I put on the poster. I had no idea how I was going to get that stuff. But I threw it on this poster, threw it on the wall, didn't think about it again. We're going to come back to this, because this is something that I'm kind of famous for at this point. I've had people making these all over the world, and the stories I could tell are incredible. But we're going to stop at that part and go forward for a minute and come back to it. Okay, the other thing is, well, how do you find opportunities? I wanted to be an entrepreneur. How am I going to start a company? People say all the time, how do you find a business idea? Listen, hear people's complaints. And the more people that complain about something, the bigger business opportunity it is. Okay, so if you hear people are complaining about that, why do we do it this way? Why do we do it that way? Another way to look for opportunities is, so much has happened in technology so fast. What wouldn't have been possible as a company a year ago is totally possible today. Or there could be a company that does it this way, because they built it that way when the only technology available to them was X, Y, or Z. And now today, all this new technology would let you just apply something different to change a process, and bam, you got a new company. You do not have to have a totally original idea, you guys. Find an idea and just make it better. Second mouse gets the cheese, right? So it's not a bad way to find a company. And look for the size of the market to be big. And what I mean by that is the size of the market is really how many people can I sell my product or service to? The more you can sell to, the bigger business opportunity it is, right? Obviously, slang gets lots of people that wanted to play video games in college and were cold. Okay, so that's how I got started, is I had worked in medical industry. I have ADD. I look at that as a God-given talent. I take meds for it. It's okay, no shame. So I was working in the medical office, running the front areas of the medical office. I'd worked every job on my way up. And it really ticked me off that every day I had to get out of my chair and take people's insurance cards and go make a photocopy. I was like, this is the dumbest process, and I do it every day, and then I have to file the chart, and I'm so bored. And it bugged me, and then I was like, you know what? Everybody's having to do this at every medical office everywhere. Why doesn't somebody just let you scan the insurance card into the software? Well, this is back when Unix was still the black and white. You guys don't even know what that is. DOS, black and white screen, no pictures, no nothing, no color. That's what was going on with computer systems back then. So Windows was brand new, which brought the capacity to now scan things into the system. And I was like, why doesn't someone start a software company where you can do that? And that is what got me to go forward into the healthcare technology world. It's just a simple idea solving a stupid everyday problem, but man, it worked, right? And that's how my journey began. And I went from that company to the next company and the next company, and finally the company that I'll tell you a little bit about today was MediConnect Global. We had almost 2,000 employees worldwide. We were in 2 different countries, 4 offices. And I'm going to just share, it's obviously you learn a ton doing business, and I only have a little bit of time here. So I'm going to share 3 quick secrets to our success. One is, I know that this is something that's hard for me. It's probably one of my biggest concerns today for what you guys are hearing in universities and everything else, not from the university, but just in the things that you hear about business. Everybody gets all this attention for raising a bunch of money. Oh, they raised money at this valuation. That's so awesome. Okay, I'm going to tell you a totally opposite message. Dude, don't raise any more money than you absolutely have to. Okay, because it's not what you raise that makes you actually walk away with a paycheck at the end of the day. It's what you sell for and how much you still owned when you sold it. Okay, so the problem with raising too much money too soon, I started my first company by bootstrapping, which meant I would make a sell of a product, and as I sold it, then I would hire someone to help fulfill it, and then I'd sell the next one and so forth. And doing it that way taught me so much discipline, right? And I use a little analogy of shoes, because I love shoes. So when I had my first pair of cheap pumps back in the day, that was good enough for me. I was fine with that, right? Because it worked. They got me where I wanted to go. They looked decent. And then I got my first pair of Christian Louis Vuittons. Red bottom shoes, if you don't know what I'm talking about, okay? And all of a sudden, I needed Louis Vuitton shoes. I had to have them. It wasn't even a want anymore. It's a need. Because they're awesome, right? And they look amazing. And that need grew and grew until I needed a whole closet to fill my Christian Louis Vuitton shoe obsession. You are going to spend whatever money you raise. Your needs as a company, somehow it fills. Just as your paycheck gets bigger in life, your needs become bigger. And the fact is, if you can start by being disciplined and not raising a bunch of money, you are going to learn to be smart. You're going to learn to be careful and watch every dollar that you have. So it'll teach you the best skills anybody could ever teach you to start that way and only raise when you actually need to get to the next level, and I mean really need to. Okay, because you can do an amazing amount of things. How many of you guys ever played that game as a kid, Bigger, Better, where you get a little object and you have to run around the neighborhood and try to swap it for something bigger, better, and whichever team gets the biggest thing. If you haven't done that, the university should have you guys do that as a challenge. Okay, we had kids in our neighborhood with like refrigerators by the end of that stupid game, right? People are giving them a fridge, free fridge. I mean, the stuff that you can do when you get creative is unbelievable. And so great doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It is okay to not start with the Christian Louis Vuitton shoes, which are beautiful but painful. It is okay to start out with your Converse high tops, okay? No shame in that. If they have Wonder Woman on them, that's even better. Okay, so I'm putting these on because now I don't have to wear heels the rest of my talk, and it's awesome. But the reality is it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. With MediConnect, we did most everything. If I fall over, my son better come and save his mother because I'm an old lady and a grandma, thanks to him. Okay. Oh. At MediConnect, for example, when we were a company, the year we sold, we had 90 million in revenue. Okay, we only had 1.5 marketing people on our team, which is crazy small. But guess why? Because I was too cheap to hire a bunch of people. And guess who the best marketers are in the world? High school kids who will do anything for a Little Caesars pizza, $4.99, hot and ready. So I didn't hire marketing teams. I didn't go pay a ton of money. I went to my kids' friends in high school and said, hey, here's a pizza. I need a couple branding ideas. Think about it. This young generation, you guys know, you already know how to get more likes than anybody in seconds. Do you know how much old people like me pay companies to get those for their company? Well, I didn't pay anything because I had high school kids. But do you know how much like universities will pay to get the likes and big companies marketing? You already have a marketable skill. You just didn't know it. And by the way, you're like totally like out of date and uncool compared to high school kids and what their abilities are. So if you're gonna start a business, go talk to them. Get the ideas from them. With MediConnect, we were trying to make technology and security sexy, right? Because we had to bring in all kinds of people that had to like not use a cell phone at work and not get on the internet. None of that sounds sexy at your age, right? But I needed a way to make it sexy. So we came up with the concept through these little powwow sessions of what is sexy that's secure. Well, working for the CIA is pretty dang sexy, right? Spy stuff. Everyone wants to be Jason Bourne. So we were like, okay, let's roll out a spy theme in the company, and then maybe people will think it's cool to come and work at MediConnect where they can't have any technology or cell phones. So we rebranded the company very inexpensively. We took titles of departments. Okay, totally free to do. And instead of finance, you worked for the Treasury Enforcement Agency because that just sounded so much cooler, right? We did that throughout the whole company. And it was just these little things. We did it with our decor and screensavers, putting up their mission that they had to do on their computers. If they killed it on the job, they got their star on the wall, right? And these little things we were doing that were cheap started to create this whole culture and this whole movement. We got our employees these cheap t-shirts that said MCG for MediConnect Global. And it looked like SWAT, and it was pretty cool to walk around town in them, right? And so these little things we were doing, and just the little kind of putting a face on it, these creative ideas we had, were really kind of making this kind of culture of, hey, we're secure, and customers started to like it. And they were like, oh, that makes me feel really good to work with you guys because you're secure. And at trade shows, we would give away little spy toys. Okay, we'd find cute little original spy toys. One of the things that a lot of companies spend a ton of money on is recruiting. And they're trying to find people because you want to get good employees, right? Well, instead of us paying a lot, we went to the high schoolers. They came up with this billboard idea of this is what awesome looks like. Took an employee and had him point to a shirt. Really successful billboard idea. Okay, most companies are paying a ton of money for this stuff. The other thing we had to do is we needed to go and get people to come work for us. I'm a firm believer that you don't hire for someone's skills. I hire for values, and I will teach you the skills. Because I can teach you skills, but teaching you values at your age is a little harder. And I ain't got time for that, right? So you want to hire people for their values and then teach them the skills. And we wanted the values of people that had integrity. That was our core tenet of our company. They had integrity. They respected each other. They had a good attitude. They were willing to go the extra mile, right? It's kind of hard to find that these days. A lot of people are like minimal, let me do the bare minimum. And so we needed a way to get the word out that, hey, we're a healthcare technology company and we want to hire people with this attitude. Didn't go to a marketing agency. I went to a bunch of kids and I said, help me figure out an idea. And we came up with the idea that everyone loves going to movies in Utah, so we would go to Jordan Commons, and before the movie started, we paid for a little short commercial spot that was not that expensive. And I told my employees, make your dumbest talent, just take your phone, film it, send it to us, and you might just make it into our commercials, okay? I'm gonna show you a couple of some of them that played. There's music normally, but. Okay, so people in the theater are watching that going, dude, if that guy can get hired, I can totally get hired there, right? Here's another one. Ooh, did I just miss the second one? Can you hit play up there on that one, the gal in the booth? If you pull the mouse down? Right down there, yeah. As you can tell, the production quality was not expensive on these things. But you know how much attention we got for that? You know how many people were actually like, I want to come work for MediConnect. Who is that? We would go into companies where we thought their people had good values, and we would put signs on their bathroom stalls. This one says, if you're reading this right now, you're clearly a good multitasker, and it just so happens we happen to be hiring multitaskers, so call our company, right? Inexpensive ideas. A lot of the best things you can do don't cost a lot of money. We hired some temp agents at $10 an hour to hold signs that said, shame on you for not applying at MediConnect. We're now hiring, so that anyone that drove by our building would see that and call in to get hired. Didn't cost a lot, totally not illegal if they're holding the sign. Don't tie it to anything. The cops showed up, we have been properly warned. You just gotta hold it, okay? The other thing we did, and again, this was probably our most recruiting. See, most companies, when you're recruiting people to come work for you, they're paying like a huge fee to a recruiting agency of like 33% of that person's salary up front for the whole year. Okay, that's a huge amount of money to hire somebody, especially as you start to hire people at higher levels. Well, what I hated is that when they would come in and interview, it's like kind of a flawed process, right? You know that I said I wanted someone who's A, B, and C. What are you going to tell me you are when you come in? A, B, and C, right? So it's not really the most honest situation. So we decided, what's the best way to hire good people with good values? Well, if I'm going through a Wendy's drive-thru, and that guy in the drive-thru is awesome and happy and nice and super like cool with me, dude, I'm hiring that guy, right? Because he didn't even know he was interviewing. So we gave all of our employees in the company these little printed cards that said, hey, tell them so-and-so thinks you're awesome. We're hiring. And we handed those out all over the place whenever we had a good experience, okay? These are all just unique ideas that really didn't cost money, but they made such a big impact on our business and our ability to do things. And you can do that in most any area, not just recruiting, right? You can do that in any area of the company, really cheap, so it doesn't have to cost a fortune. We repurposed everything. I bought one company, they had a huge RV. I did not need an RV. I had Joan London's face on the side. She's a lovely woman, but it was millions of dollars a year to keep her on there, and I just I don't spend money like that, except for on my personal shoes. So we rewrapped it inexpensively, and we took it out as our mobile hiring center. And we would drive it to the parking lots of companies we thought had good values and hand out, we'd had guys in black suits like the men in black, handing out little spy cards that said we're hiring during lunch, right? We tried to repurpose everything we could and use every element that was available to us. The next secret is that we did live by this rule. Do what's right, let the consequence follow. When we first started the company, we had a sign on my wall of my office that said, do what's right. The reason we added let the consequence follow is we found ourselves as an executive team oftentimes faced with situations where you can start to play some really funky mind games with yourself to let yourself get away with doing something you know is wrong. Okay, so let me give you an example. We're submitting a request for proposal. It's a sales bid for a big client. And we know our competitor, who's total snakes, right? They're always snakes. They're not always snakes. But they're going to submit a bid too to this competitor. And we know that they have been known to lie and known to totally fudge their numbers. And we're like, well, if we let them lie, if we don't answer it that way and they're answering it that way, then they're going to win for lying. So the only way to prevent their lie is for us to lie. That's the kind of games that go on in your head, right? And that's super screwed up. And you have to have a way and a team around you that'll stop you from doing that. You need friends around you that'll call you out for that, right? You don't want the friend that's like, oh, you look really cute, and that's why everyone's smiling at you today. You want the friend that says you have a booger on your cheek, and that's why everyone's looking at you like that. You see what I'm saying? You need honesty. And so the consequence follow, we put that on there because we needed a reminder that there was going to be times doing the right thing, being honest on a bid for a sales client when someone else was going to lie. It might mean they're going to win. They're going to get the business, and we're not going to get it. And we had to be okay with that. That's what it means by let the consequence follow. Commit to doing the right thing, even if you're going to lose. And yeah, it sucks to lose. Nobody wants to lose, right? But doing the right thing at the end of the day is going to lead to a bigger success. And if you don't think your integrity is tied to a financial win, you're wrong. The most valuable asset you have sitting in this room today is your reputation of integrity. And the more that people know you do the right thing, the more they're going to give you money, the more customers are going to give you business, and it has an effect like you wouldn't believe. Success is going to come and go, but your integrity is forever. I had an investor once back out of a deal last minute. He had a personal situation come up, couldn't come into the deal. We were short by $1 million. That's a lot to be short when you're doing a fundraising close, okay? And I had less than 24 hours. I was like, what am I supposed to do? I called up a guy who knew my reputation of integrity, and I said, hey, I'm short $1 million. I don't even have time to take you through what's going on. I don't have time to run you through the numbers or anything. And he said, Amy, here's a check for $1 million. I trust you. Follow up with me later with the paperwork, and we'll get it handled. That would not have happened if I had not spent so many years building that reputation of integrity. So don't think it won't matter financially to you, because it will. The next thing is communication. This was the most humbling thing I learned as a leader, is how important communication is, okay? You know, it sounds all fluffy. Today it's like you guys communicate via text, even if you're sitting in the car together in the back seat, which is a little bit bizarre, but I get you. But communication is the cheapest thing you can do with the biggest payoffs, okay? We had a company, it grew from 70 employees to 2,000 employees, and I didn't know everybody's names even at that point, right? You grow so fast and you run past people and you don't even know who they are, and you're like, they're like, hi, they all know you because you're the boss, and you're like, this is really hard. And I found that the further people got away from me, the more that rumor mill would rule, and they would say, oh, Amy thinks this or that. And I'm like, why would they think I think that? Well, because I was not communicating. So somebody else was able to step in somewhere down the line and try to communicate on my behalf. And a lot of times that information wasn't what I believed in or what I thought or what I wanted. So I realized I got to start communicating myself. So I started this blog every night to my employees. It started out as the CEO tweet to her peeps, teenage daughter named it at the time, and I would blog every night to my employees, just a little blog that wasn't like I'm your boss and I'm really important and everything I say, Matt, no. It was like, look, first of all, I made a ton of mistakes. Here's what I learned today. This is something I screwed up on. I'm sorry. It's very real. It could be like, don't put your pants on right out of the dryer because it's super bad on your self-esteem, right? It could be anything. My husband did something dumb. Everybody knew about it. So when he didn't let my car run out of gas, which men that raise their hand as being married, don't ever do that to your wife. And I missed a meeting because I was on the side of the road with no gas. I blogged about it. So my employees knew real. Who's Amy? What does she think? What does she believe in? What does she stand for? What are the struggles she's going through as a boss? When we were going through a big decision on whether to sell the company or not, right? I had employees, total diverse population, right? And it didn't matter what they believed in. I didn't care. They knew who I was, what I believed in. And I would say, look, I'm making a really important decision right now for the company's behalf. I could use your prayers, whoever you guys pray to. I don't really care who you pray to. I just could use your prayers. I'm trying to make a good decision. Never had anyone offended by that, okay? They all wanted me to succeed. And the more I was open and the more I was vulnerable about what my fears were, what my struggles were, the more those employees got behind me. And watching our financial numbers, is this not working? Can you go to the next one? Dalton, we might have just lost this. Can you see if they have a different clicker? And is someone up there that can go click for me? Is she up there? I'm going to let them click through for me. The more that I would get open about things, the more those employees would rally and have my back. And it was really incredible to see that the less afraid I was of being who I was. Look, we all make mistakes. We all screw up. All of you guys have and will, right? That's just, I've made a million. And the more that you are open with people about what you need help with and what the struggles are, the more they're going to be there to have your back and want to help you see. Because no one gets fired up to want to support somebody who knows it all. Do any of you guys want to help someone that knows it all? No. But we all want to give a hand to someone who says, hey, I'm just a real person. This is hard. I'm struggling. Help me. So keep that in mind. So that blog, I started writing it every night, 5 days a week. I didn't miss a day because I needed them to trust me. It went to integrity. Our revenue numbers climbed as a company. Our expenses flattened out. Now, that's a really good thing, by the way. When this gap gets big, you're going to make a lot more money, okay? And it was incredible to watch how just communication made all the impact in the world. Go to the next one. The other thing I learned with communication is to make it bi-directional. I started a discussion board, and employees could go on and comment back to me. That was a little scary, right? Because now you're putting yourself out there. They can be like, you suck. And then it's like, oh, wow, okay. But you know what? If they thought that, it's good for me to know it so I can address it. Doesn't need to hide that. You need to say, oh, okay, tell me what I do. What should I learn? How can I be better? That's how you're going to improve, is getting honest information. Next one. I also learned to be inclusive, where I asked people's ideas from everywhere in the company. And it was great to see people, as they got to give ideas to our idea board and let everybody else vote on those ideas, they all felt more included and part of it. And again, they felt part of that success. The next thing I learned is about making communication personal. When our clients logged in, this is what they saw originally, just some photo stock girl, right? Kind of boring. I started thinking about Google. I like going to Google every day because I never know what they're going to put on that page. It's kind of fun, right? Go to the next one. So we decided to start putting the account manager's pictures in there. So now when you logged in, you saw who you were working with every day. And it started to create that personal connection. Next one. And what was cool about that was then we decided to make it kind of fun. People get bored. Look, we're all bored. Everything's hard and miserable. Who wants to turn on the news anymore? It's really fake anyway. And just kidding. And so we decided, let's make it fun, right? When you log in on a Monday, let's have you see someone like with a coffee mug and a I'm tired thing. And on Friday, let's have maracas and a little party. So doing these little things, keep going, made it super fun for everyone else involved. All of our customers started to really appreciate that we were making it kind of fun. And we decided to make it relevant to them. So when we send out newsletters about MediConnect and healthcare technology and how this is what's going on with HIPAA, no one wanted to read it because it's boring, right? They're already dealing that with their jobs. So we decided, okay, bag that. We're going to do something totally different. Next slide. It was Super Bowl coming up. And I was like, instead of sending them this really professional newsletter, let's send them a thing on how to get their girlfriend to watch the Super Bowl with them. P.S., just for the men in the room, if you want your wife to watch sports, tell her about the personal lives of the players. Who's had the affair with which Kardashian, who had to buy diamonds for this girl, who had to do, and suddenly she'll watch. So we sent that to our clients. And all of a sudden, this newsletter that went from no readership went to like, holy cow, everybody was reading it. Not just were they reading it, now they were sending it to their friends at other companies that were potential customers for us. And they were reading it too, and they're like, I don't know what you guys do, but you're really cool. Can we hear about your services? It was amazing to watch how something totally unrelated led to more business. Next. The other thing is we made it meaningful. How many of you guys at home somewhere have a box of cards that people have given you? Notes and cards. Yeah. How many of you guys remember what you got for Christmas 7 years ago? Nobody, right? So here's the thing. The most appreciated gift in the world is a handwritten card. Keep that in mind, especially today. You guys don't do that stuff, right? Yeah, everything's technology. Handwritten cards. And we would send it out to people and say, hey, good luck with your kid's birthday thing. Had nothing to do with our business. We were providing customers. We were just making them feel good and letting them know we cared. And all of a sudden, they're sending flowers to my people. And we're like having this like love fest going on with clients. When you can make it meaningful to people and let them know you care about them as a person, you will get more business. Next. And what happened as we did these things as a company is that T-shirt I'd gotten all of them, all of a sudden, instead of just a T-shirt, it went to, they wanted to buy all kinds of stuff that said MCG. And I was like, but I'm cheap and I'm not going to spend the money. And they're like, that's okay, we'll pay for it. And I was like, you want to spend your money to wear stuff with our company name on it? That was pretty incredible, right? To see what had happened in the shift in the culture and the impact it had on those employees. And we started a company store, and like the first day I asked them, what stuff do you want in there? Like 153 different items, from baby onesies to belt buckles for the rodeo in Ephraim, which is awesome. Demolition derby's even funner. And we had all these cool things, and they were blasting around the city. Talk about good marketing and promo for your company, right? Next. By treating people good and communicating and being honest and having this atmosphere of integrity, you create an atmosphere where your employees are happy to come to work. And when they're happy to come to work, they're treating the clients better. And when they're treating the clients better, the clients are referring more business. And that is the stuff that leads to the next slide, which is a $377 million cash exit, which is pretty freaking fabulous, okay? Now, next one. I'm going to give you a couple of quick tips that I want to end with to help you guys succeed. Okay, network yourself. Do not be afraid to talk to people. I was really shy when I was young about talking to people. I was a woman in a man's world of technology. There was like no other women there except for the booth babes hired at the shows, the trade shows. So it was a really intimidating thing for me. And I was afraid to walk up to people. And then I went to one of these events, and someone came walking up to me, put out their hand, and they're like, hey, so nice to see you. I'm so glad you could be here today. And I was like, you're awesome, and I love you right now. Didn't say that out loud. That just was in my head. And I was like, the fact they made me feel important. I've never had anyone be offended by smiling and saying hello and shaking their hand and saying, hi, how you doing today? And in fact, that person made me feel so good that I was like, I should do that for other people, because there's got to be other people feeling insecure like I did. Don't be afraid to talk to people. And remember what I said about they like it when you ask them a question, help me with this, what can you tell me about that? Next slide. I also want you to put yourselves in the running. When my son, who's here today, he hates this story. When my son's here today, we went into his freshman year at Alta High School, okay? He got a flyer in the thing that said, hey, they're going to have student body officer elections. Alta was a huge school at the time. And I'm like, oh, you should totally run. And he's like, what is it? And I'm like, it's nothing. It's really cool. It's easy. Go do it, right? He comes back in the first meeting. He's like, you totally lied about that. That's like a huge deal. I mean, it's a little freshman kid, right? President of a high school. But he ran it. I said, just do it for the fun. Don't do it to win. Just do it to have fun. So he did. And he didn't win. But you know what? That kid had the best experience in high school because he made so many friends that first year. It changed everything for him throughout the course of high school. I had an employee that put in for a job opportunity that we had. We said, we need to hire for this position. He put it on. I'm like, who's this guy? I don't even know his name, which is weird because this was like the top position in the company for this department. And he didn't get the job that time, but guess what? He wasn't qualified yet. But every time a position came open, I was like, hey, what's that one guy doing? What's that one guy doing? And he ultimately, a couple years later, ended up getting the job to run the entire department. Put yourself in the running, because even if you don't get chosen, you're going to get noticed. So don't do it for, oh, I'm going to win. Do it for, I'm going to do it for the experience and for what might come out of it in the end later. Next one. Avoid negativity. Don't hang out with negative people, okay? You'll get branded by your boss. Next one. I'm going to go kind of fast through some of these. And be a Tigger, not an Eeyore, because nobody wants to hang out with Eeyore on a Friday night. He is like super miserable, but Tigger's fun, fun, fun. People do business with people they like. I just bought a bicycle. I don't ever ride bikes, but my husband wanted to, and I'm a good wife, so that's what we did. And I bought a bicycle, and guess what? I saw the same bike at two places. True story, just a couple weeks ago. I paid, I think it was like $150, $200 more to buy the exact same bike from the second store because the salesperson at the second store was awesome. And they were helpful, and they didn't treat me like I was stupid, even though I hadn't ridden a bike since I was 12, and my last one was like a Schwinn with a banana seat and little tassels and a bell. They gave me a bell on the new one, which was like super extra customer service thoughtful. But I paid extra money because I liked the person. People will do business with people they like. Remember that. Be a likable person. Next. And it's okay not to know it all. Go to the next one. And what I mean by that, I'm going to give you the Bentley analogy. When people come to raise money for me, and I'm meeting with an entrepreneur, and they say to me, hey, I say, here, what about this concern? Oh, no, we got that. You know, we're not even worried about that. I'm like, we're not going to give you money, okay? And I call it the Bentley analogy because my husband, who's a good man, bought me that Bentley for my birthday a few years ago. Seriously, good husband, right? And so he's from Idaho. They're good people. But my son, if he came to me and said, Mom, can I drive the Bentley? And I said, oh, that's an expensive car. And he said, oh, don't worry about it. I got this. No problem. It's not going to be a problem. I'm like a really good driver. It's fine. I'm going to be like, no, you're not driving my Bentley, right? But if he had come to me and said, Mom, I really want to borrow your Bentley. I know it's an expensive car. I know I'm going to have to be an extra careful driver. And I know it's not just about me. There's a lot of other drivers on the road that are going to be bad drivers that could totally hit this car. And I understand that that's the things I have to be like hyper vigilant about. And I'm thinking about those, right? Because it could happen. Think about the difference in my trust level. You're still not driving my Bentley, but I love you. But if any other car, yeah, I'd let him drive. But you know what I'm saying? Like, my ability to hand him the keys goes way up because he was aware of the risks. He wasn't acting like he knew it all or that he was immune to the risks. That's actually going to inspire confidence in people, so don't be a know-it-all. It's okay that you are young or a student or haven't learned something yet. You're not stupid because you don't know it, and you're not less than because if I know something and you don't, that does not make me a better person than you. It just means that I learned something you haven't yet, right? If you're getting a degree in engineering, you're not smarter than someone who's learned to get a degree in sales because guess what? Sales is just as important. It's just different. Engineering, just as important, but different. It is not like this. It's equal but different, and no one's smarter, no one's better. You just have had different opportunities, different backgrounds, different exposure. So don't limit yourself thinking that you are. Go to the next one. Okay. I'm going to skip this story because we're running out of time, right? We only have 10 minutes. Okay. When you go, I'll give you a 3-second, that's all you're getting. My husband wanted a snow shovel when we first got married 11 years ago. It was snowing. Didn't have a snow shovel because I was single and I'm in Utah, and you have people in your neighborhood that do that for you when you're single. Anyway, ended up, he said he needed one. I got on Google because that's what I do, and Googled it and heard about this thing called the Wobble. And you can go to the next slide and I'll show you. I ended up ordering this for my husband. Went horribly wrong. I paid several $100s for a shovel. My husband from Idaho grew up on a 1,100-acre farm, was mortified that I bought this and was like, I'm never using this. I cried because I was a newlywed. I'm a girl. We're allowed to do that. He actually said, okay, I'll use it once because we were newlyweds, and you only get that, ladies, for about a week, and then they stop doing that for you. But one time used it, car came down, he dropped it, disassembled it, it's now in my garage, never to be used again, and I wasted $400. I knew nothing about snow shoveling, okay, nothing. I just Googled a lot of stuff and read it and thought I was the expert. Next slide. What I learned from that experience was you can read all the expert stuff in the world, but the best thing you can do is seek experience and advice from people that have been there and done it. Not just one person, talk to several people. Hear the different perspectives and lessons they learned, okay? Because that's going to be more valuable. Reading about stuff is also important. Sitting in a class is important. But then go out and seek the advice of people who have been there and done it. And take that into account when you do things, and you'll get there a lot faster. Next one. Overcoming the fear of failure. Keep going. I wish my clicker was working. You're going to make mistakes. You got to learn from them. Just own them, you guys. Don't be embarrassed about them. Like I said, we're all going to make them. Just own it, fix it, and put some safeguards in place not to make it again. And there's going to be times, keep going, there's going to be times when you are doing it all right and it seems like you got it. My husband took me snowboarding for the first time a couple years back. I was flying down that hill. I thought I was so freaking awesome. And then, next slide, that's what happened. So it's going to happen a lot, and you're going to be embarrassed, and you're going to face plant, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to look stupid, and people are going to be like, what an idiot, right? Who cares? You learned something. It is not a failure. Go to the next one. It is not a failure if you learned something that made you smarter. So remember that. It's not a failure if you learn something. That's the best way to learn, is trying and failing. Just don't fail in the area of integrity. Everything else you can fix. Next one. And remember that everything's going to be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Now we're going to end on the goal poster. My friend over here that was honest, yes, I want you to pay attention, okay? Go forward, one more. One more, okay. Remember that goal poster? I made it, it was 8 years before I looked at it again. Do a single click. When I was moving offices, I saw that poster and I was like, holy cow. I've accomplished everything on the poster. I had won Entrepreneur of the Year. I was on the cover of Inc. magazine. All these things. I met Steve Ballmer because Gates retired, but that totally counts. And I was like, all this stuff has worked. I still at that point thought it was coincidence. I'm like, it's just a coincidence, right? That's kind of crazy coincidence. And then, next slide, my dad gave me a poster and said, we are going to Ghana to serve in this temple. And I'm like, you can't leave. Who's going to change the fire alarm batteries? Because, I don't know how to do that myself. I'm a girl. I don't like doing guy jobs. So he said, just put it on the poster. I'd like you to come out here and get married. I didn't even have a boyfriend at the time. I was like, that's probably not going to happen, Dad, but I think you're great. Put it on the poster. And within a year, next slide, I was in Ghana getting married to this awesome guy. So now I come back from that and I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to the poster. We should look into this. Next slide. So I sat down and I made a new one 11 years ago. And on that poster, I was like, I want to sell my company for a ton of money, and I want to start an entrepreneurship fund where I can invest in other entrepreneurs. And I want to start a charity to empower people to use entrepreneurship as a way to become self-reliant. And I want the plane because it's friggin' plain. Who doesn't want it? And I was like, and the 7 wonders of the world, right? Not knowing that there's more than 7 apparently, which is really stupid because why I call it 7, but that's the postcard I found and stuck it on the poster. Okay, now I'm going to show you, the next couple of slides are going to show you what happened over the next few years after we got married. Ended up going to some of the wonders of the world, not because I planned trips based on the poster. I had a brother living one place, I had an office in another, just random weird events that took me to these places. Next one. I sold my company for $377. I started REES Capital, which is an angel investment fund. I started the IPOP Foundation, which is my charity. Next one. And I got my life back with my children. And I was like, this is pretty sweet. My husband's like, well, what are you going to do now? I was like, I don't know, that's a good question. So next slide. I was like, I want to build my dream home. I sold my company, started my angel fund. Let's build a dream home. So I started a PowerPoint poster. Now, the real PowerPoint of this house has about 42 pages or something of all the pictures of what my house was going to look like when it was done. I've just picked a few select pictures for you, and I want you to see. This is some of the pictures in the poster. That's Mariah Carey's closet, ladies. Next slide. That's the actual house I finished from that poster, okay? Again, I know. You want to have a moment of silence for the closet, because I do every day. It's a very spiritual experience for me to walk in that place, man. Okay? So now my husband's like, now what are you going to put? Now I'm starting to get freaked out, because like everything I put on the poster happened. So now there's a lot more attention to, well, I don't want to put something on that I don't want to have happen, right? I mean, I had one child, my daughter put on, she wanted to get lost, and she ended up getting lost a lot in her life after she put it there. So we don't mess with the mojo of the poster anymore. So I was like, crap, I don't know what to put. Well, one thing that had always bothered me is I dropped out of college, right? And it wasn't because I wanted to. I didn't have the money. And back then, if only one of you could go, the guy got to go. Okay, everyone in this room, listen to me, guys and girls? No, not the case today. You both go, you both finish, you do whatever it takes. And if any of you men don't support the women in doing that, I will personally hunt you down. Okay, so next slide. I told my husband, I was like, it bugs me, but I'm never going to go back, right? I do lectures and teach at colleges all over the place, and I'm like, I'm not going to go back and be a student. Plus, I was like, totally ADD to begin with. So I'm like, he's like, just put it on the poster if it bugs you, and just see. You don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, you're right. So I put that on the poster, and I was like, there's my 2 kids. Oh, go back one. And I'm my 2 kids. I was like, I would love to see them grow up and get married in the temple. I want to have 16 grandkids. I only have 2 children, so we have a deal on their 8th child. They each get a check for $1 million. I think it's a really fair offer. There is no negotiating down from that. And I'd never been to Europe, so I thought a European vacation was fun. And I thought writing a book, because I've written these blogs since 2010 every day, never missed a day. Even when I sold my company, the employees were like, will you keep writing? I'm like, you don't have to read it anymore because you're not working for me now. They're like, we want to learn from your life lessons. I was like, that's clearly evident of how many mistakes I make because that teaches them a lot. But so I thought, well, I better end up eventually writing a book. So I put these on the poster. I haven't even finished this poster still. This was just a couple years ago. I want you to see, the next slide. A few months later, I got a call being told I was getting an honorary PhD. Okay? Next thing, we started trips to Europe. And these are all the countries we've been to in Europe just in the last 2 years. Next one. Those are pictures to evidence. I'm not joking about that. We really were there. Next one. Both my kids ended up getting married in the temple. And the next one. And I have my first grandbaby, thanks to this man over here. Well, his wife, really. He didn't do much. But I am now a grandma, because grandma's old, and I'm a grandma because I'm way too cool to be old. So that's my grandbaby, Flynn, who's amazing. First out of the 16. There will be 16 in the next one. And I got a call back earlier this year from Forbes saying, we'd love to have you publish a book for us. And so my book comes out next month with Forbes. So do the goal posters work? To my friend who is the doubter, it does work. I don't know why it works. I can't sit here and tell you I understand why. I just know that as this was working in my life, I began sharing that story with people all over the world. And I've had people make posters and send them to me from all over the world. And those posters, the stories that have gone with those are the incredible experiences people have had. Can you go to the next one? And have taught me that you should never limit the picture of what's in your mind because God intends your life to be a masterpiece. So sit down and make a poster. Next slide. I need you to make one more. I need you to make a poster. That is my contact info. I want you guys to come, even if you're a non-believer in the poster. What do you have to lose, right? I had one guy in New York say, I'll make a poster. I think it's the stupidest thing ever. I'll make it, and then a year from now, I'm going to make a film, because I'm a filmmaker, about how stupid your idea is, right? And I was like, fine, make the poster. A year later, he sent me a thing and said, I am so sorry. I apologize. Everything on my poster just happened. Here's my next poster. And on the next poster, yet he wanted to win the Cannes Film Festival. 4 months later, that guy won the Cannes Film Festival. So the stories I could tell you would blow your mind about the posters. I want you to just go home and make one. Don't limit what's on your poster, okay? Think big. Put it on there. Take a picture of it. Send it to me. And we're going to track what happens in your life. Because I promise you, I run into people all over the place, from all over the world, that have made posters. And the stories will blow your mind. So will you make one? Everyone in here make a poster? Okay, you're awesome. Thank you for letting me talk to you guys today. If there's anything I can do to help you, sorry about our technical difficulties, and let's have some candy.
Hey, thank Amy for coming. Thank you very much.